The urgent plea. Urgent message. Captain James Hawkins stared at the urgent message from the Galactic Council. The Zorgans were steamrolling planet after planet, and the Council's advanced tech and armies did nothing to stop them. Now those pompous aliens needed humans to clean up their mess. Typical. Assembling the team. Hawkins cracked his knuckles. This was humanity's time to shine, to remind the galaxy what badass warriors humans could be. He gathered the toughest, meanest, and craziest soldiers and techs Earth had to offer. They were the galaxy's last hope, humanity's finest, with one shot to stop the Zorgans or watch everything burn. All or nothing. Go big or go extinct. Hawkins gritted his teeth as the ship left orbit. They had to win. Failure was not an option. Time to show those Zorgan bastards what humans were made of. Arrival at Galactic Council headquarters. The human ship touched down at the Galactic Council's headquarters, a gleaming metropolis that looked like it was ripped straight out of a sci-fi vid. Captain Hawkins stepped off the ramp in his power armor, his crew of stone-cold badasses fanning out behind him. A welcoming party of various alien species was there to greet them. Some looked at Hawkins with hope in their eyes, glad that someone had the courage to step up and fight. Others seemed skeptical, eyeing the human tech like it was a kid's science project. Initial doubts. A tall, spindly alien with a dozen eyes addressed the group. "Welcome, humans. We are grateful for your assistance in this dire time. However, some members of the Council have expressed doubts about your capabilities, given the discrepancy between your technology and that of the more advanced civilizations here." Hawkins bit back, a snarky retort. He knew their gear looked primitive compared to the flashy alien tech, but humans had a knack for making things work. "Don't worry about our tech. We got a few tricks up our sleeves. Just point us to the fight, and let us do our thing." Council Chambers. The group made their way to the Council Chambers, a massive room with a holo display in the center. Representatives from dozens of species were gathered, murmuring amongst themselves. Hawkins spotted the Zorgan ambassador, a hulking brute with more teeth than brain cells. Confrontation. As the meeting started, the Zorgan ambassador stood up, glaring at Hawkins. "You really think these primitive apes can stand against the might of the Zorgan Empire? They'll be crushed like the insects they are." Hawkins slammed his fist on the table, leaving a sizable dent. "Listen up, you overgrown iguana. We might not have your fancy toys, but we got guts and ingenuity. We'll show you what humanity can do when we hit the battlefield." The ambassador snarled but backed down. The meeting continued with the council discussing strategies and sharing intel. A hologram of a nearby planet popped up, with a key Zorgan military outpost highlighted. Mission briefing. Hawkins leaned forward, studying the display. That outpost could have valuable information on the enemy's tactics and weaknesses. My team can infiltrate it and gather intel. Some counselors looked uncertain, but others nodded in approval. "Very well, Captain Hawkins," said the spindly alien. "We will provide you with the necessary resources and support." As the meeting adjourned, Hawkins gathered his crew. "All right, listen up. We've got our first mission. We're going to sneak into that Zorgan outpost and find out what makes these bastards tick. Then we'll use that intel to kick their scaly asses back to whatever hellhole they crawled out of." The soldiers nodded, determination etched on their faces. They knew the stakes. The fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. Hawkins grinned, feeling the adrenaline start to pump. "Gear up and get ready. It's time to show these aliens what humans are made of." Infiltration. Preparation. As the team prepared for the mission, a sense of excitement and trepidation hung in the air. They were about to face the Zorgans head-on, and there was no telling what they'd find. But one thing was certain. They would give it their all for Earth, for humanity, and for the entire goddamn galaxy. Landing and stealth approach. The dropship silently touched down on the outskirts of the Zorgan outpost, its cloaking device keeping it hidden from enemy sensors. Captain Hawkins and his team of elite soldiers disembarked, their high-tech armor blending seamlessly into the alien foliage. "All right, "Listen up," Hawkins whispered, his voice low and gruff. "We stick to the plan. Get in, get the intel, and get out. No heroics, no screw-ups. Got it?" Encounter with Zorgan guards. The team nodded, their faces set with grim determination. They had trained for this moment, honing their skills and studying the enemy's tactics. It was time to put that knowledge to the test. As they approached the outpost, Private Jack Maverick Thompson took point. The young soldier had a reputation for being a bit of a loose cannon, but his skills were undeniable. He moved with the grace of a panther, his keen eyes scanning for any signs of trouble. Suddenly, a group of Zorgan guards rounded the corner. Maverick reacted instantly, his plasma rifle spitting blue fire as he dropped the guards with precise shots to their scaly heads. The rest of the team moved up, securing the area and dragging the bodies out of sight. "Nice work, Maverick," Hawkins said, clapping the private on the shoulder. "But don't get cocky. We're just getting started." Deeper into the outpost. They made their way deeper into the outpost, bypassing security systems and taking out any Zorgans they encountered. Maverick continued to impress, his lightning-fast reflexes and deadly aim making short work of the enemy. As they reached the central command center, Hawkins hacked into the Zorgan computer systems. What he found made his blood run cold. "Holy shit," he breathed, his eyes widening as he scrolled through the data. "These bastards have a weapon that can destroy entire planets, and they're planning on using it to wipe out any species that opposes them." Mission escalation. The team gathered around, their faces grim as they processed the information. They knew they had to act fast. "Maverick Thompson, you're with me," Hawkins ordered. "We're going to steal the weapon schematics and sabotage their defenses. The rest of you, plant the explosives and cover our escape." The team split up, each group focused on their assigned tasks. Hawkins, Maverick, and Thompson made their way to the weapons lab, taking out any Zorgans they encountered with ruthless efficiency. As they reached the lab, alarms began to blare. The Zorgans had discovered their presence. "Escape under fire," Hawkins cursed, his fingers flying over the keyboard as he downloaded the schematics. "We need to move now." Maverick and Thompson took up defensive positions, their weapons at the ready as the sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. A group of heavily armed Zorgans burst into the room, their eyes blazing with fury. Maverick and Thompson opened fire, the air filling with the stench of ozone, as plasma bolts streaked through the air. Hawkins finished the download just as a Zorgan blast caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around and sending him crashing to the floor. Maverick was at his side in an instant, dragging him to cover as Thompson laid down suppressing fire. "Escape. We've got to get out of here," Maverick yelled, his face streaked with sweat and grime. Hawkins gritted his teeth, pushing himself to his feet. "No shit. Let's move." They made their way back through the outpost, the explosions set by the rest of the team adding to the chaos. Zorgans were everywhere, their rage palpable, as they sought to exterminate the human intruders. But the humans were too fast, too skilled. They dodged and weaved, their weapons spitting death as they cut a path through the enemy. Extraction. Finally, they reached the extraction point. The dropship was waiting, its engines roaring as it lifted off the ground. The team scrambled aboard, Hawkins clutching the stolen schematics to his chest as the ship rocketed away from the outpost. The explosions they had set ripped through the Zorgan defenses, reducing the base to rubble. Back at the Galactic Council, Hawkins presented their findings. The alien representatives were stunned, their eyes wide with shock and awe as they realized the full extent of the Zorgan threat. The next challenge: proving humanity's worth. "Humanity has proven its worth," the spindly alien said, bowing his head in respect. "We are grateful for your bravery and skill." Hawkins allowed himself a small smile. They had struck a blow against the Zorgans, but he knew the fight was far from over. As if on cue, alarms began to sound throughout the council chambers. A massive Zorgan fleet had been detected, headed straight for a densely populated alien world. Hawkins felt his stomach clench. The Zorgans were moving faster than they had anticipated. There was no time to waste. He turned to his team, his eyes blazing with determination. Gear up and get ready. We got a planet to save. Council uproar. The Galactic Council chamber was in an uproar, representatives from every corner of the galaxy shouting and arguing, their voices rising to a deafening crescendo. At the center of the storm stood Captain James Hawkins, his jaw set and his eyes blazing with determination. We can't just sit back and watch as the Zorgans destroy another planet, Hawkins roared, slamming his fist on the podium. We need to take the fight to them, hit them where it hurts. And how do you propose we do that, Captain? Sneered a slimy-looking alien with tentacles for hair. The Zorgan fleet outnumbers us 10 to 1. It's suicide. Hawkins leaned forward, his voice low and intense. We board their flagship and take out their command center. Throw their whole damn fleet into chaos. Thompson's speech. The chamber erupted into a fresh wave of protests and objections. Madness, cried a bulbous creature with 3 eyes. We'll be slaughtered. But before Hawkins could respond, a voice rang out from the back of the room. No, he's right. All eyes turned to see Private Jack Maverick Thompson standing tall, his chin held high. Captain Hawkins is right. We can't just hide behind our defenses and hope for the best. We need to take the fight to the enemy, show them what humanity is made of. Thompson strode forward, his eyes locked on the council members. When the Zorgans came to our world, we didn't back down. We fought with everything we had, even when the odds were stacked against us. And you know what? We won. The young soldier's voice grew louder, more impassioned. Humanity has always been willing to make sacrifices for the greater good, to lay down our lives so that others may live. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us human. A hush fell over the chamber as Thompson's words sank in. Slowly, reluctantly, the council members began to nod their heads. They knew he was right. They knew that if anyone could pull off this insane plan, it was the humans. Mission approval. Very well, Captain Hawkins, said the spindly alien who had first greeted them. The council grants you permission to proceed with your mission. May the gods be with you. Hawkins nodded curtly, then turned to his team. Gear up and get ready. We leave in 1 hour. An unexpected ally. Mysterious figure. As the humans filed out of the chamber, a hooded figure detached itself from the shadows and approached them. Captain Hawkins, a word. Hawkins turned, his hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. But the figure held up its hands in a gesture of peace. Relax, human. I'm not your enemy. The figure lowered its hood, revealing the scaly features of a Zorgan. But there was something different about this one. A glint of intelligence in its eyes, a softness to its features. Introduction to Zara. My name is Zara, the Zorgan said, and I believe we have a common enemy. Hawkins raised an eyebrow. You're saying you want to help us take down your own kind? Zara nodded. Not all Zorgans support the actions of our leaders. There are those of us who believe in peace, in coexistence with other species. We have formed a rebel faction dedicated to overthrowing the tyrannical rule of the Zorgan Empire. The Zorgan stepped closer, its voice low and urgent. I can help you infiltrate the flagship. I know its layout, its defenses. With my knowledge and your skills, we can end this war once and for all. Trusting the enemy. Hawkins studied the Zorgan for a long moment, weighing his options. He knew that trusting an enemy was a risky move, but he also knew that they needed all the help they could get. All right, Zara, he said at last. You're in. But if you double-cross us, I'll personally put a bullet between your eyes. Zara grinned, a hint of fang glinting in the light. Understood, Captain. I would expect nothing less from a human. With their newfound ally in Tau, the human strike team boarded their ship and set course for the Zorgan fleet. They knew that the odds were stacked against them, that this mission was likely to be their last. But they also knew that they had no choice. The fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders, and they would be damned if they let the Zorgon win without a fight. The assault begins. Final briefing. As the ship hurtled through space, Captain Hawkins gathered his team for a final briefing. All right, listen up. We're about to face the biggest threat humanity has ever known. But I know that each and every one of you has the strength, the courage, and the sheer balls to get the job done. He looked around at the faces of his soldiers, seeing the determination and resolve in their eyes. We're not just fighting for ourselves or for Earth. We're fighting for every species in the galaxy that has ever been threatened by the Zorgon. We're fighting for freedom, for the right to live our lives without fear. Maverick's rallying cry. Maverick stepped forward, his voice ringing with conviction. We're with you, Captain. To the end. The others nodded in agreement, their weapons at the ready. They knew that this was their moment, their chance to make a difference. And as the Zorgon flagship loomed before them, its massive bulk filling the view screen, they felt a surge of adrenaline and purpose. They were ready. Ready to fight, ready to die, ready to do whatever it took to save the galaxy. Boarding the flagship. The ship shuddered as it docked with the flagship, the airlock hissing open. Captain Hawkins took a deep breath, then stepped forward into the unknown. It was time to show the Zorgon what humanity was made of. Initial encounter. The strike team moved silently through the bowels of the Zorgon flagship, their weapons at the ready. Captain Hawkins took point, his eyes scanning the dimly lit corridors for any signs of the enemy. Zara and her rebel faction followed close behind, their knowledge of the ship's layout guiding them towards the command center. As they rounded a corner, a group of Zorgon soldiers burst from a side passage, their plasma rifles spitting deadly fire. The humans and rebels reacted instantly, diving for cover and returning fire with a hail of bullets and energy blasts. Fierce combat. Private Thompson ducked behind a bulkhead, his rifle barking as he picked off Zorgons with precise shots. Beside him, Zara let out a fierce battle cry, her claws ripping through the enemy's armor like tissue paper. Watch your flank, Thompson shouted, spinning to take down a Zorgon that had snuck up behind them. Zara grinned, her fangs flashing in the muzzle flare. Not bad for a human, she said, her voice thick with adrenaline. Together, they pushed forward, their combined firepower cutting a swath through the Zorgon defenses. The rest of the strike team followed close behind, their own weapons adding to the chaos as they fought their way deeper into the ship. Reaching the command center, the resistance only grew stronger. Zorgon soldiers poured from every hatch and corridor, their eyes blazing with hatred and their weapons spitting death. But the humans and rebels were relentless, their determination and skill matched only by their bravery. They pushed forward, meter by bloody meter, leaving a trail of Zorgon corpses in their wake. Finally, they reached the command center. The doors were heavily guarded, with a phalanx of Zorgon elites standing ready to defend their leader. Hawkins turned to his team, his voice low and intense. "This is it," he said. "We take down the commander, we end this war. No matter what happens, I want you all to know that it's been an honor serving with you." The final battle. Confronting the commander. The others nodded, their faces set with the same grim determination. They knew that this was the moment they had been fighting for, the chance to strike a decisive blow against the Zorgon Empire. With a final battle cry, they charged forward, their weapons blazing. The Zorgon elites fought back with everything they had, their plasma rifles and energy swords cutting through the air with deadly precision. But the strike team was too fast, too skilled. They wove through the enemy fire like ghosts, their own weapons finding their marks with unerring accuracy. At the center of the command center stood the Zorgon commander, a towering figure clad in ornate battle armor. His eyes glowed with malevolent intelligence, his clawed hands gripping a massive energy sword. Hawkins and Thompson's duel. Captain Hawkins and Private Thompson charged forward, their weapons at the ready. The commander met them head-on, his sword flashing in a blur of deadly light. The battle was fierce and brutal, with the three combatants trading blows and plasma bolts in a deadly dance. Thompson took a glancing blow to the shoulder, the pain nearly sending him to his knees. But he gritted his teeth and fought on, his rifle barking as he poured fire into the commander's armor. Hawkins, meanwhile, closed in with his own sword, the crackling energy blade clashing against the commander's weapon. They fought back and forth across the command center, their blades flashing and sparking with each blow, disabling the ship's systems. Around them, the rest of the strike team fought on, their weapons flaring as they took down Zorgan after Zorgan. Zara and her rebels worked frantically to disable the ship's weapons and navigation systems, their claws flying over the control panels. The battle seemed to stretch on for an eternity, with neither side gaining the upper hand. Human and rebel bodies littered the floor, their blood mingling with that of the fallen Zorgans. But finally, with a final desperate lunge, Captain Hawkins drove his blade through the commander's chest. The Zorgan let out a gasping, gurgling cry, his eyes widening in shock and pain. At the same moment, Zara let out a triumphant shout. "The systems are down," she cried. "The fleet is crippled. Victory!" The humans and rebels let out a ragged cheer, their voices hoarse with exhaustion and relief. They had done it. They had struck a blow against the Zorgan Empire that would be felt across the galaxy. But even as they celebrated, they knew that the fight was far from over. The Zorgans would not take this defeat lightly, and they would be back, stronger and more determined than ever. But for now, the strike team could rest, their mission accomplished. They had proven that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, that even the mightiest of empires could be brought to their knees by the courage and determination of a few brave souls. The aftermath. Returning to the council, as they made their way back to their ship, Captain Hawkins clapped Private Thompson on the shoulder. "You did good out there, kid," he said, his voice gruff with pride. "Damn good." Thompson grinned, his face streaked with blood and grime. "Just doing my job, sir," he said, "just like you taught me." With that, the strike team blasted off into the stars, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy had in store for them next. Back at the Galactic Council, the representatives awaited their return, eager to hear the details of their victory and to plan their next move. Addressing the council, Captain Hawkins stood before the council, the room once again filled with murmurs and whispers. But this time, there was no doubt in their eyes. The humans had proven their worth, and the council was ready to follow their lead. "We have struck a blow against the Zorgan Empire," Hawkins said, his voice steady and strong. "But this is just the beginning. We must be vigilant. We must be prepared. The Zorgans will come back, and when they do, we will be ready." The council members nodded in agreement, their faces set with determination. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. They also knew that they had the strength and the resolve to see it through. Honoring the fallen. A solemn ceremony was held to honor the fallen, both human and rebel. Their sacrifices would not be forgotten, and their names would be remembered for generations to come. As the ceremony drew to a close, Hawkins felt a sense of pride and purpose. They had come together, against all odds, and had emerged victorious. But more than that, they had shown the galaxy that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, they would never back down. A new alliance. With the Zorgan fleet crippled and the threat temporarily neutralized, the Galactic Council began to work on strengthening their alliances and fortifying their defenses. Humans and rebels worked side by side, their combined knowledge and skills creating a formidable force that would stand ready to defend the galaxy from any future threats. Captain Hawkins and his team continued to lead the charge, their reputation as the galaxy's saviors growing with each passing day. They knew that the fight was far from over, but they also knew that they had the strength, the courage, and the determination to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Looking to the future, as the stars stretched out before them, the strike team prepared for their next mission. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, But they also knew that they were not alone. Together, they would face the future, ready to defend the galaxy and to ensure that peace and freedom prevailed. With a final, determined glance at the stars, Captain Hawkins set his course. The galaxy was still in danger, but with humanity at the forefront, there was hope. And as long as there was hope, they would continue to fight, to protect, and to ensure that the light of freedom never dimmed.